Hi, my friends. This is Bernadette here, Bernadette Tiger, wishing all you. There's a funny feeling of enlightenment in the world. It's just something which you understand. Words are pointless. It's just something we need to speak about because we know that, well, it's very peaceful. The world is very peaceful. It's a pleasant, feeling. No, nothing's happening, so we'll just play a few tunes because when we're at peace, we kind of, play peaceful things. That's where beauty of music transcends. So, this is not about sweet talk, so let's just characterize what I really have no idea what we intellectualize. I mean, language is so difficult. Jak ja trochę po polsku porozmawiam, to you may not zawsze być świadomi o czym the situation. Well, we just notabene nomine Patre, Filius, Spiritus Sancti, w ogóle. No to czym chodzi? To chodzi, że strela klat, czyli taka klintka, boczka, katka. No i stres, już gubiątki w ogóle, już pojmiecie? Spojmaczkę? A? Zarspicie? No, tak czy nie? So it's a bit pointless kind of conscripting serial flow of voice transmission because that's not how, the intelligence of the universe is conscripted to interact. So we have a retention field. Now, bearing in mind that language can be arrogant, I distinctly am, annoyed. I am annoyed at the arrogance of our master tuition, the heavyweight champion of the world. There is only one eternal heavyweight champion who resides, the one who stings like a bee and flies like a butterfly. Butterfly. Or was it the other way round? Because it matters which you will. Because if you sting like a bee, well, you're already deadly. But if you fly like a butterfly and sting like a bee, I mean, it's the same thing, but you state that you fly like a butterfly. And then you just casually state, but you sting like a bee with a smile. B for Bernadette. No, sorry, that's B-E-E. Sorry, I missed the misread. B-E-E. Sting like a bee, he said. No. The minister. Oh, yeah, I remember his name now, Muhammad Ali. Because, if we remember former nuances of, black magic kind of attributed to non-script, we can call him something else, but, he's literally the person we know who grew up to be the most countenanced person. But we're going back into Cyril language. Well, okay, so he had difficulty with words, so... we call him, what we know, what we inflict upon the word, because evidently our doctors, our GPs are so, intensely knowledgeable. So we think of a word, he's not able to utter some kind of familial recognition that when he sees something in writing. So, he's very, very deficient, thick. He's dyslexic. We think of a word, dyslexic. But that's not the point. The arrogance of the language. In one of his US transmissions, I don't know after he was tried and conscripted into the army or what have you, but we had a hostile, friendly, with a smile. "I'm a teacher," said one in the audience. Perhaps you'd like if I taught you how to read. Fuck off, you bastard. That's not the way to speak to a master. You've got, as a teacher, I'm sorry to use that word, but you have to use expletives when you are as thick yourself as a short pint of nuts in a forest armed with a grave of... Well, you get the message. I'm a little bit annoyed, more than irritated. Angry might be the word. Because this, well, sorry, but that's only concessional, because you have to speak with emotion. I'm not really angry, but that's how we convey nudge. You think I'm angry because I raised my voice. Well, that's how music teaches you. I'm not angry at all, but I'm reacting to the statement in a proficient manner of representation, how thick that person is. Well, perhaps the right, well, we're speaking the same language, as short, as thick as a, well, you know, as a plank of wood, as thick as a plank of wood, as thick as a plank of wood, because a plank of wood implies length, so you say thick, and thickness is in the length, so we're a plank of wood. So, my dear teacher, I'm speaking to you now retrospectively as a member of the audience who wished to make fun of intelligence. When somebody is armed to the teeth with a disability and has enough courage to fight his way to be the grand master of ceremonies of speech in the most archaic wisdom of transcendence ever known to humanity, and engages in fisticuffs with Joe Frazier and Foreman, the thriller in Manila. These are, and you get a teacher because he was, you know, failed the army, he wasn't good enough to put himself in the army, is frightened, some rubbish shit like that. As an expletive, which is appropriate in this term. That teacher, Miss, whether she's Mrs. or Miss, she's a Miss teacher, is the attribute that I resolve to address that teacher. You have no conception of the ability to utilize your visual skills to recognize that any ability to comprehend any fucking thing in this universe is not your ability to what you have gained your position, that you do something, you're a teacher. Well, you know, you don't teach Muhammad Ali because some professional who is paid to articulate and stamp a label like on a bull's backside with the word dyslexic, you make fun of Muhammad Ali. Well, I'm sorry, but you know, I keep raising my voice. You may give the impression that I'm angry. I'm just displaying that it's discourteous to imply that in the countenance of a medical expression that the connotation that Muhammad Ali was dyslexic, yeah? Well, so what? Well, you know, it's, well, okay, so that's why we don't like words, because, well, you know, because words can deceive. I can tell you, my dear friends, you, and this is fact, it's logical fact, it will be dismissed. More people, a higher percentage volume, a greater proclivity to heart disease resides with blackness. Now, this is the joke, because this is a joke. If you wear black shoes when you go to work, you are more likely to suffer from cardiac arrest, respiratory problems, liver disease, than if you wear blue shoes. Get the point? Do we need to go further? Because, well, there aren't many brown and blue shoes around. So, well, if you choose to wear a blue shoes, well, there's less of you in the data set. So we don't really, there's thousands and millions and trillions of people wearing black shoes. So that's, well, because there are different colors of shoes. So, but resting there, you can infer by logical inference and contractual statistical ability to correlate a relationship of the probability ratio that if you wear blue shoes, you are less likely to suffer from those same comorbidities. That's nonsense. But it holds true statistically. So the pathetic nature of the serial disposition in the language system, which we communicate serially, has meaning. So to hell with all that. We've had enough of this kind of transmission. But that's the point. Why just not? So now I think you realise that, going back to the point, it's wise not to croak, to be hoarse. I mean, Hoarse, to be rancid in speech. I mean, these are the words of Muhammad Ali. This is what you can learn from him. Do you just listen to his words? If you observe him and generate enough collateral ability to parallel the distinction that master of the one and only God which exists, Allah, in the words of Muhammad Ali, the one and only God, Allah, a minister of Allah. Well, can we understand? That's just a few points, because, well, there are a few things happening in the world, but nothing's really going on. So we'll just play you something sweet from a different concept of reality, which the Army and the Navy and the US Command Force, Central Command, may be kind of swimming up the, maybe they've thought to flood the dumbest thing which was ever invented, the Eurotunnel. I mean, why? What a dumb proposition to invent, the Eurotunnel. You'll never get through it, because if you don't have your certificate of vaccination, they'll send you back in your car anyway. Well, that was the theory, but, Oh, I'm out of breath. No, yeah, does that mean that Oh dear me, I have a long distance run over, it's just... Oh, that's the una corde. Una corda, it's the left pedal. That's why it's sweet and condensed. It's a different timbre. That's... Maybe you hear the keyboard moves to the right attitude, because it depends where you observe. It has a movement, but it moves, but whether it's left or right depends on the observer. As a familiar Einsteinian kind of person who played the violin rather well as a mathematician. He played rather well, and I'm sure he's prepped up in heaven where he is right now. Albert the Great. note, did you hear when the una corda was depressed? It takes somebody with a left leg to actually depress that and make that sound. So if you've been through the war and you're a vet, not a veterinary surgeon, because, well, a vet who's veteran and has been, well, he may not have a left leg, so he wouldn't be able to play that. So, there's always a, but let's not, we only like to speak sweet things because everything's hunky-dory. And we'll leave it there because that's an octave and a fifth. Open field, open prey, an open fifth. It's a sweet sound. It hasn't got a third in it, so we can harmonize it to be sweet or sour. Pickled with the term Brandon, no, not Brandon, who's the command? Branston, oh, pickled like with Branston pickle. Or we can, that was the open fifth. That's a fifth, can you hear it? That's a fifth. It's an open fifth with, it's not a triad. It's a cadence. But there are ways how to interpret that moment of sweet peace of God in the world. So, let us all play to Allah in the name of Muhammad Ali. God rest his soul. He's gonna have a tough time in heaven convincing them, all those people he bruised with his hate speech. I mean, the man was so sweet. He always talked logic. You press that trigger only when you see the white. He meant in their eyes. So you're looking him straight, and then shoot him. Well, he wouldn't do that. If he didn't do that, he would go to prison. 2 choices. Prison or the army. 2 choices. As a minister of the great God, Allah, who is ascended, and it is Allah, the only God. It's more than ascension, because Allah is the one and only in his eyes, in the Master's eyes. We're speaking of a Godhead. There was a third choice, which Muhammad Ali took. 2 were given, army or prison. He chose justice, and he neither would go to prison nor engage in any killing vendettas which he did not at that time understand perhaps that were being invented for the privilege of, well, that was not yet sanctified into knowledge. But he chose justice, and Allah allowed him ascension to the most beautiful place that ever exists. When you close your eyes and utter your last breath, Utter, not sigh, but utter. Your last breath is a word. If you exhale air, you have murmured. You have worded something. At that moment, the expiration of the ability to understand conceptually that you are where you are, you find yourself next to Allah. But we're talking, but because religion is, I really must talk about something else. What shall we talk about? Well, we'll just 21:32. No, we can't. I'm a bit tired because we kind of, but we'll just. Let that be the conceptualization of the semicolon, comma, hyphen, underscript, period, propositional calculus, which might construct a major nor a minor intersection into that open fifth. We would concluded, but something else was added. But the afterface, the what do we call it? What's the word? Preface, what's its appendix? Well, we have an appendix, we don't know what it's for, but or is that the gallbladder? Because some kind of things, if you don't know, I mean, all you know is a few kind of, what is it? I forget which ribosomes is. I forget these letters because, if you can't understand anything else, you just call it junk. It's junk DNA. So you come into this kind. The good news is, the short good news is that if you can understand this stuff with the sweet soul and you're happy in the army that you're going to play polo with the Navy, next door to President, call him President Brandon if you want to. He's a good guy. He's Joe the good guy. Really, when you get really down to know what's been going on. So we're playing water polo next to the Empire State Building, which now transcends the two towers. Well, we were worried about the two towers because it's why Building 7 came down, we'd like to know. We know why, but we're just making us propositional calculus because it was 7 for a reason. And that's certainly the way. Yeah. So all of these things are forgiven. When Barack came in, he said politely, I've forgiven. He was, what can you do? You're paid to do something. That is your job. You carry on. You're paid to do what the world has got. Well, all of this now is transcendent. Also, the good part is we've all learned how to count to 12. Believe it or not, the essence of this conversation concludes misnomingly. Now, is that a neologism in your field? Misnomingly. A gnome is a garden gnome. Misnomingly. Now that's a neologism. The ability to understand that the misconception of a gnome, knowing the knowledge of Lewis Carroll, a great mathematician, who invented Alice in Wonderland, that we can utilize images of dreams and knowledge, misnomingly understand It is, whether we understand or not, but it is the case. If you really understand this sweet talk, crosstalk, it's not sweet talk, it's, well, it is because we're dealing with teeth, but you know, crosstalk between different fields of availability of comprehension. We call them dimensional fields and densities. Number one, if you really know what's going on and you can smile that you've killed somebody and you know you've killed 50 people, or you sold you know, nuclear weapons to Putin while your foundation, you know, kind of profited, you know, all of that is basically forgiven. You know, it's, you know, do what you want to, you know, incarcerate, you know, all of these people, put them endlessly. Well, the whole planet wouldn't know what to do because, you know, there wouldn't be enough people left to lock the barriers in, you know. So also, if you understand this, you're in fifth density. You are in fifth density. That's the whole concept of the transition of a planetary system, a planetary field, into a stellar field transform. This is what it's all about. So if you happen to be content and all your troubles are over and everything is up, there is no NHS because it's a load of, there is, well, what, you know, the whole free seat, you know. The idea of a doctor doesn't exist because he's only there to make up his mind to give you what kind of pharmaceutical pill and tablets will actually make life worse for you. We understand all this. So there's nothing to do in the world anymore but to do what you want to do. What do you want to do? What do you want to, what do you want to do? This is a soul searching. Corey Good, soul searching. His recent contact with, what was her name? I forget her name, but you know, we're looking here at transcendent bodies which materialize and, you know, listen to him. I mean, you know, the speech, if you listen into the origin, to the source, you'll know it's true because these things cannot be concocted. No one has a mind to concoct these kind of things unless they've happened. So all of that is an interlude into the conviction that the ultimate truth, fifth density, what does this mean? You are conscripted into the 12th strand deoxyribonucleic acid file system. Not 2-strand, not 3-strand, not 4-strand. There's a little more work to do before all of this is understood, but the essence is that the perfection of deity which arises in pure content, and when that transmission signal is released, this planet, well, it is now because, well, I think we all understand the whole global system is collapsed. There is no more money. We know that. Tomorrow is the cut-off date for the US corporation, because it is a corporation. 1600 today is a corporation, but, well, you know, I'm sorry to comment that way, but all is forgiven. There is no sin. Sin doesn't exist. Sin is a word described by religion to do something which in your own understanding of correctness, what you should do in any given situation, you have purposefully, knowingly broken your own internal system, knowing that in some understanding there is no wrong or right. Read Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh. There is no, it's a system of choices. There is no sin. But there are consequences to knowingly do something which conflicts with universal law, natural law. I mean, call it karma. Karma actually is an inferential, but it is, I mean, if you do, be known that if you do close your eyes, and you will know exactly This is the constraint, limbo and hell. You think hell doesn't exist because you're free? When you pass on. And did you see my left eye? Well, if you're looking, which eye is it? It did blink. It did blink. It did blink. Did you notice that? So this is you just notice a little hint. So you're looking at something and some speech is occurring, but you notice that there's a blink. It's not a wink, it's a blink. And there's a difference, because one is natural and forethought and the other one is a sign. Which that's a sign. Believe me, you will have the opportunity to recognize the hurt and the violence. So if you purposefully have inflicted violence and willfully been pleased that you give sweet FA to anyone and anything because you're proudly so forceful and you have a knowledgeable existence that you are so powerful, nothing can harm you. Well, you're a pittance. You will have the ability when you pass on to experience the pain and suffering that you have caused to the other people, because in passing on, in the transition to a different referential field, we're told heaven isn't a place. It's a state of mind. Well, it is a state of mind. Those that have recognized heaven on earth, and they are in heaven. And should, for any reason, they wish and have made a conscious decision to expire their present incarnation, then they will experience something which no amount of this serial transmission can explain: pure oneness with Christ. This is heaven on earth, but we're there. The ascent has been made at Monte Cassino in the Second World War. Beat said. Now this will be a cadence. 2 interlaced aspects of reality, not 2 chords, not a perfect cadence, not an interrupted cadence. There will be 2 set fields in apposition, 2 different arrays. Now this is an array, it's a continuous array, so if there is a gap of 3 seconds, that's a pause, but that's part of the field. So the appositional relationship of these 2 set fields will now be displayed. Well, I'm not displaying anything. I'm kind of trying to console to you that when we listen to music, it's not an upbeat or a crossbeat. Listen to Neil Peart. He'll explain a few things to you about drumming. And Phil Collins is a wonderful. I'm sorry to see he's a little bit poorly. Well, maybe with God's grace, you'll actually be able to sprint 100 meters and throw away that walking stick. That's what I would like to see. The sustaining pedal is on. Application midfield of the una corda, a translation of the keyboard. And when do we let go of the sustaining pedal? All that is in the transition. It's not just the fingers, it's the feet. If you have any and you've been in war. Can you hear the tone? una corda is engaged, it's a complete different timbre. So it's not just the notes, the velocity with your fingers, if you have any. It's the way how we communicate in higher energy forms. That's a perfect ending. That's a perfect ending. A complete tonal digression. Now that implies sweetness to come. Sweetness, Mary sweetness. How can it be otherwise? Would I be sad that there is peace on this planet? All those in power. Number 10, 1600. Avenue. Avenue is AVE. I say Ave Maria, Ave Maria, Ave Maria. Maria is the blessed eternal sanctity, the purest creature that ever was conformed on this planet. Read the 3,000-page version, which deity himself has recommended as his version. His, the one true God of this conceivable light, of the version of the life of Mary Immaculate, Mother of Christ Jesus. Read it and know Ave Maria, Ave Maria, Ave Maria. 1600, Pennsylvania. Ave. Just a thought, but that's the afterthought. God bless, my friends.